Hello, the Pioneer viewers. There are new developments on the Ukrainian-Russian front every day. We continue to share with you the latest information and analysis on the front line. The situation of the Russian troops is getting worse. The information that has emerged in recent days reveals the seriousness of the situation. Clashes continue on the front line, which is closely followed by the war politics. However, there are very interesting developments in the background of the clashes. The frontline activities closely monitored by Ukrainian military intelligence contain important information. Ukrainian military intelligence, which has made significant gains since the beginning of the war, conveys the state of the war with the information it revealed in its latest report. Ukrainian military intelligence has been closely following the situation of the Russian troops since the beginning of the war. Ukrainian intelligence, which has been quite successful in terms of intelligence gathering, provides data flow from the local sources in the Russian army. The operation carried out by the Ukrainian military intelligence the other day contains details that will be talked about for a long time. The information obtained as the result of the operation is of a critical importance. Let's examine the operation of the Ukrainian military intelligence. One of the most important needs in the war is food and drink. It is impossible for an army to succeed if the soldiers of the front line are not properly fed. Ensuring that the soldiers on the front line are fed is not as easy as it seems, because it seems quite difficult to grow tons of food stuff provided by the thousands of soldiers. The Russian army faces the same problem, and this cannot solve the problem. The Russian army's food supply was largely provided by the companies affiliated with the Prigozhin, but after the suspicious death of the Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner, troubled times began for the Russian army. First of all, the Wagner personnel at the front were moved to different regions. Later, catering companies affiliated with Prigozhin stopped providing food for the Russian army. In this case, a large part of the Russian army had difficulty in accessing food. The information obtained by the Ukrainian military intelligence the other day shows what kind of the crisis Russia is facing. A phone call recording intercepted by Ukrainian military intelligence made a big noise. According to the Ukrainian army, and according to the recording, the Russian soldiers could not even wear a body armor due to the weakness. In the audio posted on the Telegram channel by the Ukraine's military intelligence directorate, a man identified as a member of the Russian army speaks to his wife on the phone about the poor conditions facing his units. At one point in the conversation, he claims that his unit has not been provided with food for 3 weeks. Ukrainian military intelligence keep Russian forces under close communication surveillance. The intelligence information and telephone conversations are meticulously analyzed. The phone conversations published by Ukrainian military intelligence are usually obtained from the phones taken from the Russian soldiers. The use of phone records by Ukrainian military intelligence draws everyone's attention. In another news published recently, a video of a Russian soldier trying to burn his passport was shared. The Russian soldier, who was very worried that the curse of the war could not stand it anymore, and burned his passport. The effect of war psychologically on soldiers is quite great. Psychological tests of soldiers needs to be conducted and monitored regularly. A mentally unstable person on the front line can blow up an entire unit with one wrong move. Conducting studies in the direction is of a great importance for the Russian army. There are many young soldiers in the Russian army. These young soldiers find it difficult to bear the burden of the war. Psychologically collapsed soldiers continue to lose their data. In the audio recording shared, the soldier who stated that he could not wear a vest during the weaknesses continued his word. Speaking to his wife, the Russian soldier said that the Russian troops lost 100 soldiers in 2 days. The Russian, whose recording emerged, told his wife on the phone that everyone lost their lives. He also said that whatever the Russian occupied, Ukrainian forces had taken it back. Ukrainian military intelligence did not share information about the location of the Russian soldier. However, according to the information we have obtained from local sources, the Russian soldiers is in Avdiivka, where heavy clashes are taking place. The Russian army is feeling the conditions of war even more acutely because the logistic problems has not been overcome. But the growing logistic problems is putting pressure on the Russian authorities. Russia, which has to determine new routes to overcome the logistic problem, is being pushed to desperation. The new routes and logistic networks to be established are being closely monitored. The work carried out by the Ukrainian military intelligence is yielding significant successes. Ukrainian military intelligence also carries out surveillance operations and attacks. A Russian militant who had been under surveillance for a long time was destroyed by the Ukrainian intelligence. Alexander Mojayev, a propagandist working on behalf of Russian army, was neutralized as a result of the operation of the Ukrainian army. Mojayev was reportedly a member of Kazakh militant group Wilchaya Sosnia, or Wolf 100. He took part in Russia's offensive to annex Crimea in 2004, and in the same year he assisted the new captured former Russian military commander Igor Girkin in capturing the Donbas city of Sloviansk. At the time, Ukraine presented photographic evidence that Mojayev was an agent of the Russian intelligence service, and Kyiv proved a link between the Russian government and the pro-Russian separatist movement fighting for control of Donbas. Before serving as a militant, Mojayev reportedly served 5 years in prison after being convicted of drug trafficking in 2005. It is unclear whether Mojayev was fighting in the Zaporizhzhia on behalf of a specific group or whether he was in the region to escape his previous legal problems. Ukrainian military intelligence is conducting a tight surveillance operation. Entrances and exits to the cities in the region and activities within the city are known to be the most closely monitored. In addition, the Ukrainian army intervenes with unmanned aerial vehicles at the slightest movement of the Russian troops. The Ukrainian counterattacks continues at full speed. According to a Telegram post by Ukrainian Brigadier General Alexander Tarnovsky, Ukraine's counterattack has been successful near Verbov, a village about 6 miles from the recaptured Ukrainian settlements of Robotny. He said Russian troops are using civilians as human shields and are settling a mass in high-rise residential apartments in the Russian-occupied city of Tokmak. The Ukrainian counteroffensive is slowly advancing towards Tokmak. Ivan Fedorov, the exiled mayor of the Melitopol, said that families of the Russian officers were evicted from Tokmak earlier this month. This suggests that major developments are imminent in Tokmak. There is no panic, but there is a panic. Fedorov said there is a great panic in the Russian army in days when the Ukrainian army is heavily attacked. New developments are expected in the coming days. How do you interpret the Russian soldiers' inability to wear body armor due to the weaknesses? Do you think the food crisis will grow in the Russian army? How do you evaluate the operations of the Ukrainian army? How do you think the logistic problems of the Russian army can be solved? What do you think about the strategy of the Ukrainian army? We care about your opinion. Please share it with us.